Okay, here we are at the one of the downtown dog parks. There's a little water access right there. He can... Oh, he snuck his way out. I wasn't paying attention, but here we are just observing. Whoop, he's unsure about where to go, what to do. A lot of noise, a lot of distraction. He sees that there's a dog in the car whining at him. You know, very alert, but this morning's not maybe too bad. Looking around, what's going on. Still super focused on that dog. If I give him a slight correction, see if I can get him out. Hey, Bash. Nothing there. Hey, Bash. And this just isn't enough to really break him out. And you can see the other two dogs are headed into the park. And he's solely focused. If we start to walk a little bit, he's like, oh, where are you? I'm sorry I lost you. And yeah, we'll get a little closer to those dogs and see how he does. So here we are. He's keyed in on the dogs running and jumping off the water over here, you know, making lots of noise, splashing. The owner's encouraging, so just like really tuned into whatever's going over there. Try to do a little redirect. Hey, Bash. And what I want to do is just introduce him to these doggos behind the fence that are running around all the way off in the distance. But he's still very focused on that dog making noise, jumping around, moving. So let's just go see what happens over there. Hey, Bash, with me. So I basically haven't given him enough correction to keep him in control here now. He's just going to kind of freak out at things are moving fast. He can't really keep his head on straight. He's sniffing, he's looking, he's sniffing, he's looking. He's like anxious, he's excited. Yeah.
That's kind of what I want to know.
Yeah, that would be great. So, just gonna go over and say hi.
Just watching.
Just kind of watching. Saying hi. He's already met that dog before, so not too stressful. But, you know, hey, Bash. Hey, bud. Gonna get his attention back here. And, you know, not a whole lot of engagement. I don't think he even looks at me. Hey, bud.
Look, you're kind of like that.
That's right, bud. So, I can redirect him, you know, with the prong, but I don't get any, like, engagement. There's no looking, there's no real concern, and it's just immediately back to kind of whatever he was doing. Here.
What are we doing?
I'm gonna do a walk by this dog. There's little stuff. Hey, bud. Oh, see what happens. Bash, hey.
Filming into the sun, I can't really see. Oh,
so we got a pug running by. Hey, bud. Just gonna put him out. Watch your ears. Just gonna put him off the path here. Here comes a pug. I don't even know if he's alerted to it yet. My leash is on the wrong side, unfortunately, but. So, not too bad. But here we go. We have a dog interested in dog. I'm gonna actually correct this so I have control of him.
Can she come say hi?
I wouldn't. I'd just keep walking. We're doing some training. Yeah. There it is. Wait. Yeah, he's confused. We're working on it. So, just that dog is like over invested in him. And he gets, you know, wasn't exactly 0 to 60 in 1 second, but it was pretty quick. Now he's, you know, a little confused. He kind of got what he wanted, scaring that dog off. And great example. Here we have a pair of dogs. Looks like kind of an unsure owner. So he's pretty invested and trying to capture the whole scene. You can see what that dog's doing. He's just giving a couple corrections, but it's almost like the more corrections she gives, the more interested he gets. And it's tough because if you don't correct him at all, he might just kind of fly off the handle, especially if you don't get him early enough. If you correct him too late, then you're just making it worse. If you correct him too late and you correct him really hard, sometimes you can pull him back, but not often, and then he just kind of screws with his brain, puts him in a really excitable state. But that was overall pretty okay compared to what I kind of expected from two dogs on the other side with an unsure owner. Here we have a cat. Let's see if he even notices it. Just kind of sniffing around, doing whatever. See if he keys up on this cat. It's kind of hard to film him because he's all over the place, but he sees the cat. Very interested in the cat. You know, he probably is thinking squirrel. I think he's only ever seen one other cat in his life, and now you can just kind of see. Super excitable. He's going to keep checking back here over and over. He's going to stay in that state of mind for quite a long while, probably till we finish out our walk. Just now at the edge of his leash, needing a ton of corrections to kind of settle him down. And you'll see as we walk past these other people, he'll kind of carry that excitement forward, and poor guy's just really confused. So here's another great example. He was out ahead of me, give him just the slightest correction to try to get him back behind me, paying attention. And just that correction kind of triggered him. Like, you know, hey, what are we looking at? What are we looking for? Is there a dog nearby? Is there something I need to be concerned about? And you can just kind of see the concern on his face. Faces this way. It's not a comfortable, I'm hot, I'm having fun. It's like I'm anxious, I'm moving really quick, I'm kind of spring-loaded. If I were to try to bring him back into earth here, there we go. He's had just enough time where he's going to make a liar out of me. But he's still, you know, a little keyed up. You can almost see the like displeasure and the frown and his face structure. And I don't know if I'm just reading him totally wrong or what, but hopefully you can help me figure out some of these things. All right, we lucked out. So this is at the end of our walk, and he is alerted to Labrador at the very end there. I'm just going to record the, you know, licking his lips, getting really excited, already at the edge of the leash. I feel like I've gone too far already. I haven't corrected him early enough, and now corrections are just going to trigger. So we're just going to kind of walk by. You can kind of get a good sense of his disposition. You know, he's like hyper focused, hyper fixated, starting to stop, sniff. You can look at the other dog who's very chill, and now kind of here he goes, right off to the races. He actually didn't snarl or snap, which is a little rare. I think we're too far away, but now he'll do the whole sniff, sniff, sniff. I got to get control of my environment. I need more information. If I start going back this way, hey bud, it's almost immediate fixation right back on the target. And you know, I can avoid this somewhat with like kind of early and hard corrections, but that's not really how I want to do it if I don't have to. I want him to be able to take his mind off of it and just trust. So we're going to stop freaking that lady out, let her go. All right, so here we are sitting out on the patio, just eating some dinner, and he's alerted to basically nothing because it's raining out, and he hears all sorts of raindrops and the branches are moving and so on and so on. But edge of his leash, he is tied up right here to a heavy sandbag, and you know, kind of spring-loaded. A couple of seconds ago he was whining, you know, doing like a like what's over there. I'm really curious. Get you another shot of the front, and he's just, you know, really, really alert and moving with great anxiety, even though, you know, he's sitting right next to me and he's been out on this patio 100 times already and nothing's ever come out and attacked him. He's just not in a good frame of mind. Ooh, there was a quail about 100 feet away over there, and that just triggers this this poor guy. He's just over anxious.
How are you? Pretty good.
What do you want me to do with this guy?
You just hold on to them, and then you guys will take a seat on the couch in here. I might have to tell some dogs to be quiet, that kind of thing, but. Yeah, feel free to sit down.
Shoes off, huh?
Oh, no, you're fine.
Okay, cool.
There's like 20 dogs over here all the time, so.
No, we're not there.
We just have a good vacuum now.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah. How have you guys been? It's been a while, huh?
I know.
I was trying to think, when's the last time?
Gosh, 5 years ago?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking 5 years.
Yeah.
I think I saw you once or twice at like the dog parks or like walking around downtown.
Yeah,
That's about it.
yeah.
So,
Ruby died like
almost
2
2
years
years.
ago.
I like to always start off, I know we spoke a little bit on the phone, but I always like starting off hearing the story.
Yeah.
And then we get both perspectives now.
Yeah,
but
sure.
but yeah, let's start from the just the beginning.
Yeah. So we adopted Bash about 8 or 9 weeks ago now. He's a street dog hero. We didn't get very much background on him at all. He spent a little bit of time with a foster in Mexico, and then they shipped him right up here. He spent maybe like a month or 2 with a foster here.
No, it's like 3 weeks.
It was 3 weeks. Okay, so not a long time with a foster here. And then we found him and decided to go for it and adopt him. He, has had no training at all as far as I'm aware. So he has like very little impulse control. He's really easily excitable. Got a pretty high prey drive. Like just when we pulled up here, there's a deer sitting out front.
Yeah.
And, he's sitting in the car, immediately locks onto the deer, and then just slowly builds over time. Deer walked away 5 minutes ago, and he's still thinking about it. Like, where did it go? What's going on? What else? Other annoying behaviors. He's super unreliable around other dogs, especially leash on leash. So I'd say maybe like 2 out of 5 dogs that we walk by, he's just be like, I hate you, I want to fight. The other 3 out of 5 dogs doesn't give a care in the world.
Have you noticed any
Hey Bash, come here, buddy.
It seems
any
like
indicator to that?
sometimes it's
Hey, buddy.
the other dog is
Come here.
nervous, and he is just like immediately, well, we're gonna fight. So he'll lunge at a nervous, scared dog. It's like he bullies.
Okay.
That's the other thing that happens, like at in like a dog park situation. He's great off leash, never any problems, but he's kind of relentless. If he just likes to chase dogs and run around in a group, and if the group like seems to be targeting one dog, it's like he's a bully. He just kind of like
He
goes
wants
and goes
to
and goes
like
at that one
abuse
dog.
a dog, What else? We did a ton of work with him so far using the techniques we learned with you many years ago with Ruby on like the leash means what it means, and you respond to my commands, and like this is how we walk, and this is how we behave, and these are the energy levels, like going into a house, leaving a house, the car, same idea, like everything very chill, very calm. Don't ever allow him to get excitable. So when we first started walking him, he's a hot mess. He's all over the place. Somebody actually desensitized him to a prong collar. They would just put it on him like all the time. Never really taught him what it meant. Didn't even really correct him with it. Just kind of let him fight up against it.
Yeah, pull and
Yeah. So we spent the first week just no prong at all, just kind of letting him desensitize again and trying to say like, all right, it's going to be shitty walks, but we're going on a flat buckle collar, and it just is what it is. And then we slowly reintroduced it, doing a lot of like the figure 8 drills and the like, you're coming with me, oh, we're turning direction, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Just trying to get him to engage with us on the walk.
Yeah, and it sounds like, from my understanding, it's not going very well at implementing those things.
It's fine, but it's like we seem to have hit kind of a wall.
Yeah.
Where it's like, bro, we've done this 3 times a day for the last 8 weeks. Why am I still correcting you in the same locations and doing the same?
Yeah.
But
He's not very like sensitive to correction or anything. He's just like, he's a brave dog, and he's a strong-willed dog from what I can tell. Just doesn't seem to care too much about what we tell him.
And what makes you think that he's a brave dog?
he doesn't like new noises and new situations. He doesn't back away from them. He like investigates. Like the first time he saw our vacuum, like our Roomba vacuum go off, he was interested in it and approached it.
How so?
Um,
Like how did he approach?
he like got off his bed and ran up to it to sniff it and followed it around the house.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, what is this? Is this a toy? Is this a threat? He wasn't like bark, 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 scared, aggressive at it. Other situations, you know, something will fall off the counter, make a big loud noise, and he's like the first one up to go investigate. If he goes to meet a new dog that he's not, you know, a new dog walks around the corner and I'm not paying attention, right? He kind of like snuck behind me. He's not like, oh gosh, a new dog. He's like right up to that dog. So he's got all these environment situations where he's brave. Maybe too brave. Maybe that's why he's missing an eye.
Yeah. And
I'm like, you know, come on, bud, here.
yeah, and so so it sounds to me that you're struggling with him listening to you, and especially in situations that prey animals are around,
Yeah.
and dogs
Yeah.
in particular.
Yeah.
What about with people?
Yeah, so we did a lot of work on like people coming to the door and greeting. Like we gave him his place, like this is your spot, you just chill there until I say you're allowed to
Yeah.
say hi. And at first we were just kind of like, well, what's he gonna do? And of course he picked the behaviors we didn't want immediately. He's like, I'm right at the front door, I'm overexcited, I'm like
Yeah.
starting to jump up on people. So that's when we decided, okay, we actually have to correct him. But same idea, somebody will come to the door and every time it's like, he gets immediately really excited, there's a correction, we put him back in place, then you can see he's like fighting the urge at any moment to jump down, and there's a lot of like, he'll hop up and I'm like, nope, immediately putting him back, and it's this whole ordeal. It's like 5 minutes, 10
Yeah,
minutes.
and this is what, you know, I'm excited about because
Yeah.
through my journey, like I never do any of this. I never do place command. I never use prong collars. Like I never tell him to sit, to down, to heel, any of it. I think that we have to understand how dogs think, why they're doing what they're doing, and step into their world. And we have to speak from an animal perspective, a dog perspective. And this is where we then will become so much more effective because it's what they understand. And so when you're in a dog park setting and he starts to become a bully, it sounds like you were describing there's dogs, say they're chasing after one dog. He then looks to put the pressure on that dog with everybody and continue to poke and push. And then how do you guys navigate something like that?
I tried out, right now I'm not doing anything because I don't want to do the wrong thing. If it gets real bad, like if they start to snarl and snap, I'll just go pull them away. We're like, all right, we're going elsewhere.
Okay.
But usually it doesn't come to that. It's just like, wow, I really wish my dog wasn't physically beating up on this random stranger's dog right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, only once or twice I've had to go in and, you know, like break it up.
Yeah. And so what is your theory on what's going on with him?
Yeah, great question.
I don't have
feel
like
like-
a unifying theory.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I'm just curious about like where your guys' minds have been
where
going and like, you
I
know,
feel like
piecing
I'm
it together.
The point of, I don't like correcting my dog all day, every day. It's just like, I feel we haven't bonded very deeply. Like, I don't really like him right now, you know, and I've had him for 8 weeks.
Yeah.
And I feel like maybe the feeling is starting to be mutual because I'm just this like authority figure.
Well, it
all
keeps
the time.
doing what you don't like.
Yeah, right. So
Like-
there's no communication
like,
channel there.
It's not necessarily a fun relationship when somebody keeps doing what you don't like them doing.
Yeah.
Right. And I would actually, like, based on your videos, I would say that you're not even correcting him. Like, it's not even registering to him.
Yeah.
He just tunes it out. Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Right?
He is
Doesn't even matter.
sensitive.
And then if anything, you almost it almost sounds like, because there was at least a couple videos where you were saying that if it progresses to a point and then you try to interrupt, like it
eggs him on.
It
It's an
escalates.
accelerant.
Yeah, and so to me it's like you're almost like signaling to him, like, do this thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I think the videos were very helpful. He reminds me of this dog Jax that I worked with this last summer, and he reminds me a lot of that dog.
Okay.
And I actually want to pull it up on the TV,
Oh, cool.
so that I want to see, like, one second. He's out in the bus. If you just go, if you just go around, yeah. Thank you.
Doggy daycare?
Yeah, she got caught on a business call, and
Oh, nice.
and I was like, Dizzy, where's your owner at? Like, usually she's here by now, and so yeah, I left him in the school bus. But yeah, I want to see what your thoughts are when you see this dog.
Yeah,
Sure.
if we recognize
If there's anything that you feel like you sense about him, but I know that it's not going to be necessarily a ton of info, but I just
Yeah.
I thought it would be interesting just to see.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, because
I mean, he even
of course, like in the videos, we were like, he's acting pretty good. Like,
Yeah, I
compared
mean-
to what we wanted to catch on video,
Yeah.
we only got a few things where we were
well,
like, okay, that
some
was,
some of it. I mean, like we got to see the cat, right?
Yeah.
And then like the pug,
Yeah.
yes.
or and
There
then
was, like,
and then the
one
little
little
dog.
dog he did
Fast
Is it-
bug and then a dog that he hated. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so when you're looking at him, where it seems that he responds to certain personalities and certain types of like you then have to come across those, right?
Yeah.
So I was thinking that you just aren't coming across the situations that typically actually pin it to like a 10.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I carried my phone the whole week leading up to today, trying to capture all these scenarios.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
No,
it was
we
still
got
it was still helpful.
That's good.
That's good. Yeah. And I wish that, like, there's definitely the dog where it's an unsure dog, and there's the other dog where, like, hyper and immediately fixated on him, staring
Oh,
really
yeah,
hard.
that could also
that
get
will
him
trigger
going,
him so
yeah.
fast. But there's like a third category I have not identified, where I will just straight up be like,
What was that about?
what was that?
Yeah.
Dog
Yeah.
didn't look at him, dog didn't pause, dog was just walking by.
I had
like,
one scenario where it was just me and him, and we went to Bevel, and he was on leash, and an off leash dog came up to him, but it was like a really chill standard poodle and wasn't doing face to face or anything, was trying to sniff his butt, and they were fine for like 30 seconds, and then the dog's owner came over to grab him and be like, oh yeah, he's a shop dog, he's fine with everybody. And like, as the owner came over, Bash lunged at that dog.
Like when the owner ended up grabbing, like touching the dog, or before?
I don't remember. I think he was just chatting with me and like standing next to the dog. I don't think he was pulling him away.
Okay.
But oh, he even kind of looks like him. Wow.
So this is Jax.
How are you?
And I'm gonna go to where we end up walking around.
Yeah, and I'm gonna trail behind you. And so you just go whichever way and I'll follow. Yeah,
of course, there's not a single. Yesterday we came out everywhere we went.
Everyone and their dog.
Same kind of thing. Like, be like, now that we're trying to look at it.
Yeah.
But to me, he has the same like energy,
Yeah, they
the look.
even look alike.
Yeah.
They could be.
And so when it comes to like
Same mix.
The head movements.
squirrels,
Yeah,
rabbits,
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
he chases them all.
And he's talking. She's just said that like any prey animal, like he wants to chase them all.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah.
get very fixated on it. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's probably like
Yeah.
deer, lizard, squirrel,
yeah,
or like the energy levels and
yeah. And so,
Yeah. And so
yeah, so pretty much,
he is he is reacting to response when he,
see, look,
immediately keys in on it.
yeah, you see, sees the
Yeah.
birds.
Straight eyeline focus immediately. Like, yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot
Yeah.
of
A lot of similarity, right?
Yeah.
And so yeah, right when I saw the very first video, I was like, this is like
This
Jax.
is Jax. Yeah.
Yeah.
when it does come to situations that he is reacting to out in the woods, what pattern, what are you seeing? What do you feel like you're seeing out there?
See,
Like
his energy
people
level's
say,
quite a bit lower.
Oh, I
His?
think that for
Well,
sure
you'll-
people with
He just hasn't come into that
Yeah,
like
he
that
hasn't
type,
found
big
anything good.
hats, you know, like people
that
with-
type of situation, you know,
Yeah. Okay.
like,
Yep.
and I can't remember where.
Oh yeah. You need the Google to like chapter annotate it for you.
Yeah,
He starts to manage to creep up.
and then she talks about how he likes to end up in front.
Yeah. Same thing. We start on the walk. If not immediately, like, hey, yo, you're behind me, then it will be incessant. Like, I want to lead. I want to lead. I want to lead.
Yeah,
He's like, oh shit. All right, here we finally go. Someone, it's the same people. It's I think the same people we had first passed by, but at least we're on the same path. And I'm gonna just drift back.
Where are you?
and so yeah, they.
They have a dog.
Mhm.
So he's
You can see he's already, you know, he's.
ears up. Everything's
Yeah.
erect.
Yep.
His tail's like locked.
Yeah. Oh, and he doesn't want to keep going.
And
Yeah. Licking the lips. The excitement.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so yeah, he can get into the
Yeah. I would call that's like
this is like the mild end of him. Like she was saying the same thing you're saying about the videos that you got. Like, you know, this isn't anywhere near what
yeah.
he can be like. And I can't remember if we ended up getting anything or not. But yeah, so definitely think there's a similarity there.
Okay.
And so when we look at your goals, I mean, ultimately, what would you like?
Well, first and foremost, a dog that I can like be bonded to. And when I say do something, he just like trusts. Like, okay, you know, I'm not gonna go run over there because that's a road, and I don't want my dog to die. I don't care about sport, agility, any of that stuff, like showing off, making the dog do tricks.
Companionship.
Yeah, companionship. And right now we're in this trapped mode where you can't leave him home alone because he's starting to build separation anxiety pretty bad.
Okay.
And we can't take him anywhere at the moment because we don't have like good control of him.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah.
what?
You're
do
becoming
we-
prisoners.
Exactly. And that's like, we were that way with Ruby when she was younger for like
Yeah.
3 or 4 years before
Yeah.
we moved to Bend. And I'm like, this is miserable. I do not want to do this again.
Yeah. Yeah. And so companionship, him trusting in your leadership and that you can handle stuff, understanding that he needs to listen to you,
Yeah.
and
I think that's all it is.
and that really you want him to understand the danger of chasing after cats and squirrels and deer and get him to feel that, you know, those things you should probably not necessarily get involved in those things. Yeah. We want to temper that predatory side. Yeah.
He would almost certainly chase a squirrel off a cliff right now. Like, just blind, I'm going, and then he'd be gone. Like, no. You know?
It makes me very curious. Like, the rescue couldn't tell us anything about his eye, and
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
Well, this is why it's nice when we can get background information, because then we can kind of go, okay, this is what this dog's been through, and
Yeah.
we can say, okay, this is why he's the way he is. But not having it, we just piece it together.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, sometimes, you know, dogs are running through the woods and poke their eye with a stick, you know.
Yeah. His whiskers
Yeah.
were singed on that side when we got him.
Yeah.
But then he didn't react to the sound of fireworks, so I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, well,
Yeah.
still a mystery. No clue there.
No idea.
Yeah. Yeah. So when it comes to your guys, like the things that you do, like the games, the toys, like what games and toys do you guys do, and what have you done?
Let's see. Well, he's got a bone to chew, which is usually like once in the morning, once kind of after dinner. He just goes and like, either I give it to him or he'll go and find it himself, and he just chews that for anywhere from 5 to 20 minutes, just off in his own. And that's great to me because it's like, well, it's cleaning his teeth, maybe letting out some energy. What else do we have? We have like a couple wool toys that he just likes to like pick apart.
Yep.
We've never done any like balls or like, hey,
Yeah.
go chase this.
Yeah.
Because
We don't wanna-
we don't want to encourage that.
The
Okay.
chase.
Cool.
We did get a rope toy, which I was like on the fence about, but we would come home sometimes from a bad walk and just both of us like fuming in frustration. And I'm like, is this a good idea or a bad idea? But I would let him like tug of war
Yeah.
for 10 minutes until he's just kind of like back down to earth. If that
Perfect.
makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. So
But that's,
to me, I think that there's what's awesome to hear is really we should be listening to that aspect of like that's tying into let's not throw things and encourage him to chase. Let's not encourage him to challenge people and be physical with us and so for me, I don't play with dogs. I don't throw things for them. When we look at, you know, him ripping things apart, you know, this is him, you know, practicing the predatory sequence, right? Like
Yeah.
they grab things and then this is why you'll see dogs, like they'll grab something, like they'll shake it and then they'll start putting their paw and then ripping it apart. People that give squeaky toys, that squeak represents a wounded, scared animal.
Yeah.
We
And
don't
then
use
they
squeaky
look
toys.
to kill that squeak, right? Stop it.
Yeah.
And then some dogs will even eat their toys because everything's telling them this is what I just did. I just killed this thing. It's time to eat it.
Right.
And so I think that marrow bones, these type of things are fine because it's related to food, satisfies the stomach. It makes sense to the dog. When it comes to tug of war, when we look at protection dogs that we teach to bite people, the way we do this is through tug of war type games. And so
It's
So what I find is that when I've been listening to you, it sounds like you're thinking we need to burn energy.
Yeah.
We need to burn energy. And I would ask, if you start running a mile today and you stay with it, are you going to have more energy or less energy if you keep running miles?
Yeah, for sure.
More, right? So when we do this, we actually just feed it and we encourage it. And what we need him to learn how to do is regulate his energy. And we need to understand why he's having the energy to begin with, what that's all about. And so when he's out on a walk and he has this energy, what do you think that's about? Like, why would he have all that energy? And the way he does, like he's scanning the environment, right? He's very tuned in, is what you've been describing, what I saw in the videos. So what do you think he's doing when he's in that mode?
I mean, he could just be hunting. Right?
Yeah, that's what I think he's doing.
Yeah.
And it definitely builds, you know. You walk
Yeah.
out of the house, we always do the slow exit, right? Walk out of the house, everything's very calm.
Yeah.
And then we'll be 3 minutes in and he's starting to lick his lips.
Yeah,
'Cause he's getting excited.
I think that he's hunting, and he's looking for weakness, fear. He's looking for, and then he also could look for potentially other dogs that are looking like they're being predators in my area. You know, predators don't want competition. They want to chase that out. Get out of here, you know? So I think that this is related to his prey drive. And then you haven't properly disciplined him in a way that makes him there's a saying that the only way to control a predator is to make him feel like prey. And so we need to make him feel like prey. And I wanted to ask you about this because in the videos, I think that when you're looking at him being an anxious, confused dog, I think that it probably makes you a little bit soft on him instead of being firmer to get the point across.
Yeah.
Because you're like, well, he's confused, he's anxious,
I think that's where Ruby was.
Yeah,
And that's what our experience is.
Ruby, like, she's a pretty soft dog.
Yeah.
You know, and it'll be interesting. But my first feel of him is that I don't think he's as confident and as brave and as he's looking. I think that
It's a show.
I think that he's going to be more on the skittish side. I think he's been emboldened to move forward with that fear, with that feeling, with that predatory. Like, I think he's learned to do that. Then I think when he starts to be made to feel like prey, it'll be interesting. But this is just my predict. Like,
Yeah.
I like to try to go off.
Predict,
Yes.
Can I read them right?
Yeah.
You know, just
Figuring out
off
their
of like a
secrets.
picture or a little video, just like we do with people. You know, we go, I don't know about this person, and then sometimes you talk to them and you go, oh man, they were nothing like I was thinking. Other times you're like, I hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
I nailed that.
I wouldn't be surprised. If
But I understand why you're saying like brave, because he's moving forward. He's moving forward with
Yeah,
that stuff.
I guess-
Which brave, like courage, is moving forward with fear, like
Yeah.
moving forward, right?
he isn't like his first reaction is not to run away from things.
Yeah, and honestly, we need him to feel like he should stay out. We need to be able to get him to stay away from things.
Yeah.
We need to. Things are about hierarchy. There's a really cool video that was on like the nature some nature channel, and are you familiar with the African wild dogs?
No.
They're like you know what painted horses look like?
Yeah.
They're almost like a painted horse. They're really cool looking, but the African wild dogs were chasing like some impala, gazelles, something like this.
Yeah.
And so they're in mid-hunt, quiet. They're in mid hunt, and the African wild dogs stop dead in their tracks, just boom, and then they turn around and they start heading the opposite direction. And the narrator actually says, you know, at first they were predators, now they're prey, and then it shows the lions.
Right.
Oh,
They
yeah.
could smell them.
The lions show up, and this is hierarchy. So now these predators, the African wild dogs that are predators, are no longer acting like that. They stop mid-chase. We need to be the lions in this relationship. He's the African wild dog, I'm the lion. So that I dictate how things are going to end up going down on the territory. And once we can be that, he might have a genetic predisposition to be, say, higher in the predatory side. So that isn't necessarily going to go away. But the hierarchy in our relationship, it can influence it and bend it to where it almost doesn't seem like it's a big deal.
Like it doesn't matter
Because
if he's high prey, low prey, or
yeah,
whatever.
like we
Still
need to be able to get into his mind and influence him. We have to make him feel like prey. So then when he enters into a predatory state, we make him feel like prey, and then he starts to feel subordinate, submissive in the presence of these things, in these environments, in these situations where you come across dogs and all that. And then we can reintroduce him to the world through a different experience, because he's learning that when I do this, it doesn't work out for me. So then he starts to make different choices, and then we have to see some things are just genetic, and you just have to deal with it, manage it, understand that's how your dog is,
Right.
you know. So Jax is a more fearful dog, skittish dog, and the owner had a hard time once I was showing her the videos, and he's like following way behind, and he's very cautious, and she's wanting him to be like, I want him to be confident. And it's like, yeah, and that's what you did. You made him confident to chase after that and to lunge at those dogs, and
Right.
and
It's not his like nature.
like, and we want him to we need to understand that he's just genetically a more skittish dog, and not try to artificially change that. Like, it's like we just have to accept that he looks at the world more like that. And then through the exposure, he could start to go, oh, I know how to navigate this, but we don't want him to become confident where he becomes the predator,
Right.
right? So this is why I look at the toys. We don't want to be encouraging these things. We don't want to do any of that. The way that they can fulfill this side of them is through interacting with other dogs. Because then there's regulation within that. The dogs regulate each other, and then we regulate that. So there's like a layer system of, you can't go so far. There's boundaries.
Right.
But he can still, chase and be chased and put the pressure on, and then we're there to make sure it's going the right way. And what you're describing, where dogs will pack up and they'll pick on the weakest dog.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, we do the same thing. There's this guy in the evenings. A couple days, once or twice a week, I wash dishes at Bosa, and I look at it as like a social thing for me. And there's a guy who, he's a lot more. You just can tell he has a weaker disposition about him,
Yeah.
and everyone picks on him.
Poor guy.
But he also kind of looks for it to take place. You know,
Expects it.
he you know, he'll poke and tease, and then everyone will jump on him and do this. Sometimes he gets to a point where he's had enough, and I remember one of the very first times at the very beginning, he came back and he's like, was really upset that these guys, all the guys wouldn't leave him alone. He's like, I'm getting sick of it.
Yeah.
But when he tries to say these things, they pick on him more, right?
Yeah.
And so what I did is I go out and then I start, when they pick on him, I start picking on everyone that's doing that to him. And then he sees that I have his back. And then I take I put myself in between this, and then I push back. And so he starts to look to me like in any of these moments. And then I told him once, I said, listen, man, they know they got the best of you. And they're gonna double down on that. Like you just need to say, hey, look, right now I'm not in the mood. Yeah. And just be very simple, but don't be so agitated about it. I know it's hard because you're getting pissed. Yeah. But
Eczema.
It eggs these people on because they're seeing they got you.
Yeah.
And so dogs, yeah, they can look for the weakest one, and then some dogs will look to go to the dog that's the more assertive one and be like, I'm gonna put that dog in its place, and so.
Seen that quite a few times in
Yeah.
dog park.
Yeah.
Big, like intact male.
Yeah, like
Mastiff will jump in and be like, which one of you thinks they're in charge?
We
Yeah.
had a friend of a friend bring a dog, like to a July 4th party, and it was a big fenced-in yard, and there were a lot of dogs there, and we didn't know that they were bringing all these dogs. One of them was a wolf dog.
Oh, nice.
And he was huge, and
Yeah.
he was very chill, but I was like, oh god, you're scary.
Yeah.
And he like did one of those like at him.
Yeah.
Yeah, bash thinking you could take on a dog that's
Yeah. Yeah.
Easily twice as
Yeah.
100 pounds
They're,
more than him.
this is why it's like when dogs are playing, it's a mock fight. They're figuring out where they fit in with each other. Where are you at?
Yeah.
And this is why things can then tip over into actual fights. Just like I was wrestling with one of my friends once, and then I was teasing him and stuff, and then he started getting really pissed, and he started to really actually try to fight.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody's like, hey, calm down. Like, I'm not looking to fight back. I was like, dude, he put me into a choke, and he was squeezing as hard as he possibly could. And he saw red. And I was like, dude, lighten up, man. It's all good. And then he breaks off, and he had to pace around for a little bit. He was just amped. So these things happen all the time. You look at kids, they're playing, and then they get into altercations because, no, I don't want it to be like that. No, you can't do that to me. Mm-hmm. I don't like that you just did that, right? So we want to be able to see it for what it really is, and we need to be able to insert ourselves and influence the dogs in these moments, because it's the mock fight. And if we can't stop them when things are going good, how are we going to stop them when it goes south? Yeah. So what I try to look to teach people now is just seeing this stuff from the dog's perspective, learning the language, the culture of dogs, understanding the different personalities, and you have to be observing of what's happening and what's going down. So then when you learn your dog, you'll start to understand what they don't like and what kind of gets them going. And so then when you start to see that, you go, here's that situation. So if we go to a dog park and he just takes off after all these dogs, I'm going to look to first be able to knock it off, stop it. Because if I can't do that, that's an issue. But I'm going to look even before I go there to be able to influence him. Can I back him off that bush? Can I get him to back off the food I dropped on the ground? Like I have to be able to have a relationship where I say, look, when it comes to me and you, when I insert myself like this, it's in your best interest that you submit to it.
We definitely aren't there right now because like,
Yeah.
he'll come up and be pushy in our space.
Exactly.
sitting here,
And that's exactly what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
And that's where we have to start thinking from a dog, where a dog is going to have the energy, and they'll go from the intent that they don't like what's happening, the eye contact, the body language is showing the teeth, the growling, the bark, and then they bite. And so we have to look to be like this, so that then he starts to understand what we do not like. He understands who we are. And this is why when we play with dogs, it becomes problematic, because then they come over and they push, and then when we're trying to tell them no, they can see it as like a challenge, and then they challenge us back, and then it escalates. And if you look at articles of people that have been killed by their dogs, they were playing tug of war, they were playing with their dog, and then it takes off. And so what we want to be able to do is start, claiming our space, inserting ourselves into these dynamics around the house, and because it starts there. And then we're going to be able to start seeing how these things are going to connect. But when we look at what we've been talking about thus far, is there anything that you want to say, add, ask? I want to make sure that...
Yeah, I think we covered all of his behaviors. I mean, you've seen the videos.
Yep.
What you're saying makes sense, and I'm glad to hear you say it, because it's like, I'm just not a good like, I don't speak dog very well. I feel like I can read body language okay, but it's like, reading is not speaking.
Yeah.
You know? It's like,
I
okay,
think
he's being a real pain, and it's going to build, and I can see a building, and it's like, how to go in and like fix.
I think that there's obviously things that you guys are picking up on, and I just think that you need some guidance.
Yeah.
Right? You just need some guidance. And even there, you see, like, just you touch how more, he's actually fairly sensitive. You touch him and he's like, whoa, and backing out. And that's where I think it's not going to be, and again, just predicting, but I don't think it's going to be too hard to influence him.
I mean, I love to hear that.
Yeah.
Because you were right about Ruby, and we had spent years with her holding sausage. So.
Yeah, and this is where, and there's a degree where I'm like, man, I wish Ruby was still around so that we could do what we're doing now, because it's so much better.
Like rewire, yeah.
Like, it's so much better, and it's so much.
I wish Ruby was around too.
Yeah. But it's one of those things that I think, for me personally, it's just cool to where I go, cool, you guys were trying to implement things, it's not working, that had worked for Ruby and for you guys at that time, right?
Dog.
Yeah, but even then, I would have, like, with what I know now, I would approach it way differently, and I think it would have been smoother, easier. But it's still improved, right?
Yeah.
But this is where it's just cool that now you have a dog that now we're going to be able to help with some different information, and
without years of bad habits in place with him.
yeah, and to me, it's just seeing that we need to learn how to speak dog. And so kind of a template that I want to give you to kind of think about is, I only say what I do not like. If you look at dogs, they will never reward for good behavior.
Yeah.
You'll never see it. The way they reward for good behavior is that they just say nothing about it. They just let it be.
Yeah.
When they say they don't like something, stay away from my bone, they don't then say good job for staying away from my bone. They just leave it at that. They're leaving me alone. Cool. So they'll apply pressure, and then when they like what they're seeing, they remove it.
Right.
And that's what we want to be able to do. Only say what we don't like. and it's so clear for them. And so I'm curious, any questions about that? Does that make sense?
No,
Yeah.
totally makes sense.
We've been generally trying to do that. Like,
Yeah.
we don't give him
A ton
We
of
do
praise.
do
and
some
a ton
treat
of
training.
like petting or anything
Yeah.
like that.
We do some
He
treat
doesn't
training, which is
cuddle
the
us.
Yeah.
opposite of that, though. Like,
Yeah.
for every mealtime, we'll do a little bit of just like like down and stay.
Yeah, and these are the things that, it's fine to give a treat, but I give a treat like when they're minding their own business, and it's like I feel like giving them a treat.
Right.
When you're looking at the sit and the down and all this stuff, they're just tricks, and ultimately it's an illusion that it is actual real power, real control, real influence. Especially
he's not getting the kibble for sitting and staying down.
Yeah.
He's getting the kibble for waiting there in another room and then coming when we tell him to.
Yeah, and even that, like, it's like he needs to come because I
For
said
other
so.
reasons, yeah.
No matter what. No matter what.
I said so, not the treat.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen dogs that they go, oh, they don't have any food.
Yeah.
Or
I'm
not
out.
good enough food.
Yeah, like, and you'll see kids like this. You'll use it. You'll say, hey, if you do this, I'll give you a Gatorade, and they might do it. Then next time they might say, no, I want like a full-size pizza this time.
Yeah, truly.
And my friend Eric, who owns the parkour gym, that's what he was doing for a long time.
He was driving kids.
Yeah, and then he learned real quick that it doesn't work. It doesn't work in the long run, especially with real, like, assertive kids.
Yeah.
Ones that have an opinion, ones that are more likely to like do what they want to do. And he would call me in for those kids, and I just laid down the law. I just said, this is how it goes, and I found consequences that they didn't like, and then they started, like, when he started seeing that, they were like, oh, is Scott going to be here today? They actually liked me, which is so counterintuitive.
Yeah.
But it's because it's like they get to do a lot of fun and cool things, but they're just rules, and so they like the security of this. And that they can count on it, and then I'm listening to them, and so then, like, the kids that usually were the biggest problems, they then actually would check all the other kids, and I'd let them do it as long as it wasn't out of line. So then they would say, hey, you can't be doing that. Scott's going to get on you, so I wouldn't do that. And then you allow them, and then it is like, oh, cool, like I have a role, it's meaningful to them. Versus being like, no, don't you ever voice your opinion. But it's fine if he's over there. But yeah, I do think that we should only say what we do not like. When it comes to petting, I only pet when I call the dog to me.
Right.
They're paying attention to me. So if I call him over and say he stops out here, I don't reach to pet him. I look at that as like, okay, he listened to me, but he's not looking to have this physical contact. So I respect that.
Okay.
But he comes all the way to me, and I don't have to like reach, then I can pet him. But if, say, he turns around and then he's like looking at you or looking out here, I'm not going to be rubbing him up, because I don't want to be reinforcing or agreeing with whatever he's thinking and feeling in that moment. I want to be reinforce the relationship that we have. Him thinking about me.
I've seen that poison so many dogs' minds.
Yeah.
People will anxiously just touch them.
Yeah, of course.
See it.
And separation anxiety type stuff can start to take place. And when they come to us and we touch them a lot, and like they're telling us to do this, it can create this problem where the dog's telling us what to do.
The hierarchy's blurred.
Yeah, we need to give structure, and petting is something that we do. Dogs don't pet each other, and so this is where we can blend those two worlds together. And so what we'll start looking at doing is, like, when he comes and he's like really invading space and being pushed, then we're gonna let him know. Like when he was getting on the couch, you have to like physically remove him. We need to actually mentally, emotionally get him to remove himself.
Yeah.
So when we do something that makes him feel like, oh, let me move away from this, let me stop doing that. Because when we push and we pull back, the dog resists us, we stop because we think, oh, he's not on the couch. But the dog learned to just resist us, and then
He does brace
then we
when you
stop.
push him away.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's just the natural thing. And so I say what I don't like only. I only pet when I call him to me, and he's focused on me. I don't do anything that's going to encourage the predatory, assertive, dominant, aggressive side of the dog. We want the sweet, subordinate, kind dog.
Yeah.
Right? We just want to bring out the sweetness in them. And that's where we don't want to do any of that
Right.
Yeah.
that
Don't bring up
side of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Right? And then when it comes to the walks, we need him to be behind us. And we're going to do that through setting a territorial how we make him feel, a territorial boundary. And it's important that he walks behind us because that is the subordinate position where he's following us, tuned in. If I stop, he needs to go, why did you just stop?
Right.
You know, I don't have to teach him heel or anything. It's about us living life, and I let him, I'm a parent.
Yeah.
But if he's out in front, it's like most people's dog, they look to be in front for a reason. It's
like an advantage.
It's the strongest position.
Yeah.
And then when we're trying to get him to be beside us, this is like where we're in competition with each other and with the environment. And there is no equality in the dog world. Technically, even with human beings, like we say we're equal under God, like we're all equal under God, but we're not in terms of like if we all pick up a rock and we throw it, we're not going to be equal. Like even just picking up a rock, we're not even going to pick up a similar size or weight or shape of rock. It doesn't happen. So these are like the pillar points that I would be really thinking about.
Okay.
And is there any questions about any of that aspect?
Yeah, I guess I don't know how to
Say what we don't like?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like what I think you've touched on this already. Like we're worried about doing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Like
well, look at it this way.
Something too strong.
Look at it this
that's
way.
bad.
I've done plenty of wrong things.
Yeah.
That's how you learn. You're going to do things sometimes and you wish you wouldn't have done it. Okay? Just how it is. And then you got to own it, learn from it, and accept it for what it is. And it's like I look back with my dogs and I think I really wish I never would have played tug of war and roughhoused and thrown the ball and did all these things. I wish I never would have done it. But it's just how it happened.
Yeah.
And now I have to deal with that.